everyone, this guide contains spoilers from the start. Please note this guide is simply my opinion only and aimed at helping others based on my experience of Blue Mage. Details accurate as of Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail Patch 7.45. So some players believe this job is simply you on your own because it's limited and you can't do anything in groups and it's not as effective. But anyone who's played Blue Mage and done any group stuff knows this is far from the truth. I mean, Blue Mage is one of the most unique and versatile jobs in this game, in my opinion. It is a magical role, so you will be using mage gear, the max level's 80. So first things first, obviously Blue Mage is a limited role, which means you can't do daily roulettes. This is not an issue for Blue Mage in the slightest. Leveling, you don't need roulettes for at all. There are 124 spells to learn with Blue Mage. Gear doesn't matter to Blue Mage in the slightest. You know, I'd aim for Tomb Gear personally. What matters are spells and understanding the mechanics of what activity you're running at the time. Blue Mage weapons fall into this category as well. They don't have any effect on your damage. Literally for cosmetic purposes only, apart from the last weapon, which is a level 80 weapon, which is the Blue Eyes weapon. It gives you 2 materia slots. Gear does not matter to a Blue Mage. A Blue Mage's main arsenal are the spells and how you use them. Whether you're doing solo content, dungeons, trials, or even raids, this job really does add some spice to the game. I mean, the rush when you're doing lines to 23 blues is just an amazing feeling. So to first unlock Blue Mage, you must have completed the Realm Reborn main storyline, the Ultimate Weapon, and also have a combat class over level 50, which if you've completed the Ultimate Weapon, you'll have this anyway. Doing so will mean you'll unlock this NPC, the Zealous Yellow Jacket, just be outside the Aetheric in Limsa. This quest unlocks Blue Mage and unlocks the Blue Mage spellbook, and you'll meet Martin and his fishy friends. Spoiler alert, during this cutscene, Martin will have you attacking a Kraken type monster, as you can see here, which will spam water cannon at you, which is why it's the first spell you learn when you unlock Blue Mage. I actually did enjoy the storyline for Blue Mage, I won't lie. I thought it was pretty fun. I'd also do recommend you do the level 1 quest in this area. All the other quests for Blue Mage after this, up to level 50, are in Uldar. You don't get the job notifications like you do with other jobs at the top of your screen. I think it does need to be addressed by Square Enix personally. Okay, so moving on to explaining your spellbook. You access the spellbook by going to the character menu, and it's near the bottom. You can drag it onto your hotbar for ease of access if you want to. I do, to be fair. Just makes it a little bit easier, really. Once you open the spellbook, there's 8 pages of spells, and there are 124 spells in total to learn. You can also search for spell types. Simple enough, really. You go to the search bar. If you're looking for something specific, you can search them that way. Also, if you don't want to Google where to get spells, you can hover the cursor over the spells and it tells you where to get it on the right-hand side. It doesn't tell you the monster, it just tells you the area. The bottom blue part is your active actions bar. There's 24 slots in total. What you do is you select the spell from your Blue Magic book and it puts them into the action bar. You then drag these spells from the blue bar into your hotbar. You can't use spells that aren't active. They have to be active in the set. You have to set water cannon when you're doing the level 1 quests for Blue Mage as well. So just make sure you do that beforehand. You can also save and load up to 5 different sets of spells, which is pretty handy. I use one for the Masked Carnival, I use one for soloing, and then I use one for the different roles, which we'll get to a bit later in the video. If you right-click on them, you can set the names, you can rename them, it's a lot easier to go through. It's worth noting as well that you can't swap out the sets while something's on cooldown or if you've got Mighty Guard active. Just keep that in mind when you're switching between roles. And now for learning spells. So Blue Mages learn spells from mainly enemies. You do learn some from items, from completing certain tasks. When learning spells from enemies, there are 2 universal conditions. There's also some other conditions as well, but there's 2 universal conditions. The first condition is you must see the spell being cast and used. If you interrupt or sleep them, or if the enemy is paralyzed and interrupted, it won't work. You must see the ability being used. You don't have to get hit by it at all. You can dodge that, but you must see it being used. The second condition is simply that you must live by the end of the fight. As long as you've seen the spell used and you're alive when it dies, you have a chance to learn the ability. Open world mobs are pretty high % chance, to be fair, at learning spells, at least in my experience on multiple characters. I think it's a pretty high chance. Others may disagree, but whether you're learning spells in the open world, raids, or dungeon and trials, these universal conditions are the same. You've got to see the spell being used and survive. That is key. Even in situations we'll get to in a minute where things are guaranteed, where you're guaranteed to learn a spell, if you haven't seen it cast or you've not survived the fight, you're still not going to learn that spell. You have to survive and see it used. That is universal. Another way to guarantee that they're going to learn a spell, as long as you survive, of course, is if it's a quest spell. Some quests in the Blue Mage spellbook will have a yellow exclamation mark on them. They even have the names above them, so you know what you're looking for rather than the question marks. These spells are required for quests and are guaranteed learning spells, meaning if you run the dungeons or raids or whatever unsynchronized for them, you'll get them as long as you survive, because it's a flagged quest spell. If the spell is not a quest spell, then the chance of you learning it depends on the run being synced or unsynced. If you run dungeons or trials unsynced, it's a considerably less % chance of you learning. Seriously, it's really low. Primal spells are even worse. However, if you run it level synced, it's guaranteed as long as you live and see it being cast. To set up a solo run in your Duty Finder, you press on the Duty Finder settings in the top corner. You choose unrestricted party, and this will let you go in solo and unsynced. Or if you've got other people in your party, you'll go in unsynced. If you want to guarantee the spell and think you can do it, you can level sync it by going on the option under restricted party. This will let you go in solo or in the group that you're in synchronized. Like I did earlier with the Matoria's Relic when I got 2 spells. That was solo and it was synchronized. Even at level 80, when you level sync it, it synchronizes your item level. That's what makes the guarantee. They can be tricky, but they're doable with the right loadouts. And as long as you live and see the spells, as I say, you'll get the spells guaranteed. As I mentioned as well, you can also learn Blue Mage spells from items you get from this guy in Uldar. He gives you totems after completing certain tasks. They are free, you just have to claim them once you've done the task. If the totem goes in your inventory, you just use the item in your inventory and you'll learn the spells. You can also learn spells from stages in the Masked Carnival, which we'll get to in a minute. It's not even locked the blue, you understand the spell book and how to learn spells. So now what? Well, you got to start leveling. You've got to start leveling. I can honestly say, after running this job on multiple characters, Blue Mage, seriously, it gets fun after 50. But you got to get there first, haven't you? Let's be honest. And leveling blue can feel like a bit of a chore if you are doing it wrong. But it depends on the player style, I guess. Knowing what I know now, I can honestly advise you, race to 50. That's when the fun starts with Blue Mage. There are 2 ways to level. I'll go through both methods really quickly. The first is soloing and learning spells and grinding, which is how Blue Mage was meant to be leveled, I guess, on paper. It's how we're level 3 of my characters. It really doesn't take long. And it really doesn't take long because of Blue Mage's unique ability. So here we have a Blue Mage level 61 and a Dancer level 61. I'm just going to quickly compare the experience points you get here just to show you. I'm going to defeat this monster here. It's a level 60. So I'm 1 level higher than it. It should be fairly quick. And you'll see here the Blue Mage's trait, which is an experience points bonus for open world mobs. So we have 49,948 XP on a monster that's 1 level lower than my Blue Mage. Here we have exactly the same thing. It's a Dancer, level 61, attacking a level 60 mob, and it receives a very minimal 1,397 XP. This means with combinations such as the vibe check I'm just going to show you here, that Blue Mages can really capitalize on killing multiple enemies at once and getting huge XP in the open world. This is why they don't need roulettes. You can still do dungeons with groups and synchronize or unsynced, but you don't need to do dungeons and roulettes to level up. You can do it very easily in the open world. For people who want to solo and do it this way, I'm going to put a list underneath the video description on where to go for spells and where to level up for up to level 50. The second method is what's called a cheese method. It works if you've got the access to the Ondo's Cups Aetheric, the End of Shadowbringers, in the Tempest area. You want to head to the top of the map. I actually hated this technique, this method of leveling. I didn't think it was right when I first started, but knowing what I know now, I do recommend you doing this because it gets you to 50 in 30 minutes. I also recommend that you learn Flying Sardine from the bird just south of Costa del Sol that is needed for Masked Carnival. And what you want to do is you want to look for these 2 types of enemies here, leeches and the thing in the middle that I'm going to call Colin. There are a fair few of these dotted around so you can run between them. And as I say again, the key to this is to keep moving. The idea is to use the spell on the leech, so use Water Cannon or Flying Sardine because it's in cast. You then run past Colin, and as you can see here, he will aggro it and then instantly kill it. Now, because you have tagged this leech by casting a spell on it, you will get the XP when Colin eats it. You are basically getting power leveled by these Collins. I've known people get from level 1 to over level 20 in 1 leech kill. You get to level 50 in half an hour. It is worth knowing, though, that these Collins do get a damage buff, as you can see here. Every time they eat a leech, they get a damage increase buff. When it reaches 3 stacks, It's basically instant kill. Even level 100s will instantly die by this. My advice is to kite 1 or 2 leeches and then move on to the next area. That's the safest way. You'll get to 50 in no time. As long as you've been doing your Blue Mage jobs, you will at level 50 unlock the Masked Carnival in a quest. This is a set of solo duties. Some of them can feel like extremes. Solo in extremes, I won't lie. There is a great guide, set of guides by the Blue Academy. I'll put the link in the description. These guys, give them a like and a follow because no one could do a guide better than them, I don't think. There are so many mechanics that they go through and spells in all details, and they're broken down into each stage video. I can't thank them enough. Give them a like and a subscribe. You're going to want to complete the Masked Carnival entries for a few reasons. Apart from progressing with the quests, you also need to complete so many in order to get certain spells like the Blue Mage Raise spell. If you've jumped to level 80, I would recommend getting a few spells like Electrogenesis, Abyssal Transfixion, things like that. But mainly this one, which is Aetheric Mimicry. This is a spell that you're going to want on all of your sets, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're doing solo dungeons or you're doing Masked Carnival or groups, you're going to want this buff. And what it does is it copies another player's role, if you like, and it gives you a mimicry. So it gives you a tank, a DPS, or a healer mimicry. Certain spells that you'll get and you'll learn will have additional effects based on this mimicry. And here is a good example. So there's a lot of tank ones, but there's also a lot of healing ones. And the one that can show you the best one is probably Pomp Cure. So Pomp Cure, standard cure spell, without mimicry, its potency is 100. It cured me for 1,311. However, if I find a healer and I mimic their role, Pomp Cure now has a healer mimicry effect on it, which will increase its potency to 500. It cured me for 7,658. There are a lot of spells with little effects depending on your mimicry and which one you've got, whether it's tank, healer, or DPS. There are a lot of spells with enhancements with the mimicry. Explore your options, choose your spells wisely for whichever role you're wanting to play. And now moving on, we get to the Blue Mage log and achievements. At level 60, as long as you've done your previous blue quest and then Frog's Legs, you'll get a quest called Blue Scream of Death, where you'll unlock another section of the Blue Mage spellbook called the Blue Mage log. This Blue Mage log is split into sections. So you've got your dungeons, your trials, your raids, and then you've also got some weekly challenges as well. These can be a great way to get them spells that you're really finding tricky to do. And what you can do with this is you basically run these dungeons synced. And when you completed them, you get a little red tick on this right-hand side. Next to the tick, there is also a little blue Party Finder logo. If one of these is lit up, it means that somebody in Party Finder is actually running a party for this dungeon. But what that means is what you can do is you can click on, say, like a Dying Grasp, you click on Recruit Members, and it sets it up for you. And you can put in the description that you're doing the Blue Mage log, and people will join and you'll get the spell. For those people who really love the big achievements as well, there are achievements for Blue Mage that are not for the faint-hearted. These are basically doing trials in extremes or raids in savage versions. They have to be with Blue Mages only and synchronized with Silenced Echo off. Rewards are for a mount or a lot of titles. I personally am trying to get them all done because I love the fact that doing a Blue Mage event is so thrilling. And that's pretty much it for the guide. I hope it sheds some light on Blue Mage for you. Give Blue a go. You won't be disappointed. And thank you as well to the fellow FC members and everybody who was in the clips in the video. So if you like this video, I'll do some more, but give Blue a go. That feeling when you get 24 blues in Alliance Raid is amazing. And see you online.